didn't even sign my release papers. I told them I was done on social media, which is
Mm.
none of this works anymore. None of this
Mhm.
flies anymore. I had to leave. And I've heard.
What if the biggest moment in wrestling history turned into a tragic farewell? On the night of November 21, 2025, as SmackDown roared from Denver's Ball Arena, a routine last time is now showdown erupted into a brutal nightmare. Drew McIntyre, suspended for a storyline assault, struck Cody Rhodes inside the champion's tour bus, delivering a blow that shattered more than just the ring's rhythm. The result? A severe axial compression of the cervical spine that left the undisputed WWE champion gasping for air and the entire industry holding its breath. 8 days before the high-stakes Survivor Series War Games, the industry's betting odds shifted and the balance of power crumbled. Now, with the world still reeling from the attack, Cody Rhodes has made a stunned announcement. He's retiring from wrestling. In today's video, we'll break down the shocking events of that fateful night, explore the medical reality behind Rhodes' injury, and examine what this retirement means for the future of WWE and the legacy of a true champion. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss the full story. The night of November 21, 2025, shifted the very foundation of world wrestling entertainment. In a city that had long served as a crucible for wrestling drama, the live broadcast of SmackDown from Ball Arena in Denver erupted into something far beyond the expected spectacle of a championship storyline. What began as a staged progression in the Last Time Is Now tournament and a lead-in for the upcoming Survivor Series War Games event devolved into a scene of calculated violence that would leave a lasting mark on the industry and on one man's career. Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE champion and one of the faces of the company's latest renaissance, found himself on the wrong side of the spotlight. Inside his personal tour bus, a vehicle that had become a mobile sanctuary, a symbol of his status and a refuge from the relentless demands of a WWE schedule, he was the target of a non-sanctioned assault. Drew McIntyre, a superstar who had been suspended for storyline reasons, stepped out of the shadows of the WWE Universe and delivered an attack that would alter the trajectory of the champion's life. McIntyre's approach was deliberate and cruel, a manifestation of bitterness that had festered since his own fall from grace. He emerged from the backstage loading dock with a twisted grin, wiping his hands on a towel before stepping into the frame of a handheld camera, his silhouette a stark contrast against the dark interior of the tour bus. The assault was not a simple act of aggression. It was an orchestrated violation of a place that had offered Cody a sense of safety and control. The moment the camera cut to the bus door, the audience was forced to confront a reality that extended beyond the ring. The physicality of the attack, the brutality of a hand striking a body that was already vulnerable from the rigors of wrestling, resonated in a way that scripted feuds had never achieved. When the footage finally revealed the extent of the damage, the medical diagnosis was both precise and chilling: axial compression of the cervical spine. This injury, a severe misalignment of the neck vertebrae, threatens long-term neurological deficits and is a danger that cannot be dismissed as mere theatrics. As the details emerged, the stakes of the upcoming War Games match, just 8 days away, shifted dramatically. The odds for Cody Rhodes, who had been the cornerstone of the War Games story arc, turned against him. The War Games cage, once a symbol of brutal yet honorable competition, now became a backdrop for an even more personal battle. With the injury's severity confirmed by specialists, the window for a safe return was no longer a question of timing. It became a question of life and health. Amid this turmoil, other narratives were converging. The Vision, Paul Heyman's mercenary faction that had risen from the remnants of the bloodline, continued to tighten its grip on the WWE roster. Drew McIntyre's role within the Vision, alongside Logan Paul, Brock Lesnar, and the younger heavyweights Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, was no longer just a storyline. It became a manifestation of the faction's ruthless ambition. Meanwhile, the Alliance of Heroes, Team Rhodes, Team 2.0, further showcased the fragile nature of alliances in an era where old loyalties were being rewritten. The inclusion of CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and the Usos created a coalition that, while united against the Vision, carried its own internal fractures that threatened to crumble even before the war had begun. The Raw brawl that had erupted on Monday Night Raw the week before set a tone of escalating violence that the Denver broadcast only intensified. Footage from police body cams had been shown, a bold decision that grounded the WWE Universe in a gritty realism rarely seen on television. That same realism was the backdrop against which Cody Rhodes' injury unfolded. With the medical reports in hand and the gravity of his condition clarified, Cody Rhodes faced a decision that would reverberate through every fan's heart. The world had always expected him to be a pillar of resilience, a champion who could weather the storms of the ring. Yet the very nature of his injury, a silent, potentially lifelong threat, forced a re-evaluation of priorities. The choice was stark: continue a career that risked severe and possibly irreversible damage, or step away from the limelight and preserve a life that extended far beyond the ring. On a quiet morning, far from the roar of the arena, Cody Rhodes sat with his family.
Is this it? Or is there another chapter?
Oh, I've wondered if I've plateaued.
You haven't plateaued.
No, but I always wonder,
Yeah.
So where does it go from here? Like I'm on my second arena tour. Where does it go? I've done movies. I'm doing a TV show.
Surrounded by the quiet hum of the Denver skyline. He spoke in a tone that carried the weight of years spent under the bright lights and the weight of the decision before him. I've been in this business long enough to know that the greatest victories aren't measured by the titles I win, but by the health and happiness I maintain, he told the media, the words resonating with a quiet, unwavering resolve. He announced his retirement from in-ring competition, a declaration that stunned the industry. The announcement was not a dramatic exit with a final match. It was a sober, dignified acknowledgement that the time had come to step away from the spectacle that had defined his life for so long. The news spread like wildfire. Fans who had cheered his triumphant return to the ring, who had watched his resilience after the betrayal of the bloodline, felt a mix of shock, relief, and admiration. The wrestling community, too, recognized the courage it took to admit vulnerability in a profession built on the illusion of invincibility. As the details of his retirement circulated, stories of the impact he had on the roster, the mentorship he offered younger talent, and the loyalty he displayed toward his peers were recounted. Many saw in his decision an embodiment of the new era, where personal well-being could be placed at the forefront even at the cost of legacy. For the WWE brand, the loss of a central figure presented a challenge that would reshape narratives moving forward. The War Games event, which had already been restructured to account for the injury, now became a testament to the new alliances that had formed. The Vision's tactics continued to be dissected, while the remaining heroes adapted to the altered landscape. Amid the shift, the return of AJ Lee and the rise of Ilya Dragunov added fresh threads to the tapestry of 2025, underscoring the fluid nature of wrestling storylines. Cody Rhodes' announcement of retirement also sparked conversations beyond the wrestling ring. It highlighted the physical toll that a sport demands and the importance of recognizing when to prioritize health over career ambitions. In a world where the line between performance and reality is often blurred, his decision served as a reminder that the most powerful stories can be found in the choices we make away from the spotlight. As the WWE Universe adjusted to the new reality, the narrative of the 2025 season unfolded with a renewed sense of possibility. The echoes of that night in Denver, of a champion's fall, the brutality of an assault, and the quiet strength of a man choosing to retire, remained etched in the collective memory. The decision to step away from the ring was not an end, but a new beginning, one that would allow Cody Rhodes to live beyond the squared circle, to explore the next chapter of his life with the same dedication he had shown inside the ring. The story, though concluded in a different form, continued to inspire and resonate, reminding us all that true greatness lies in the courage to face our own limits with grace. The decision to step away from the ring was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new chapter that would reshape the landscape of WWE in ways no one had anticipated. Behind the glossy veneer of a retirement announcement, the night of the bus attack still flickered in the minds of fans and insiders alike. A moment of brutality that had become a turning point for the company's narrative fabric. The assault began in the quiet interior of the transport vehicle that carried Cody Rhodes and his crew across the country. When the camera operator, who had been following the team for weeks, and later the Usos, entered the bus, the scene was a grotesque tableau. Rhodes hung upside down, his legs entangled in the steering wheel and overhead compartments, a twisted position that mirrored the wrestling hold known as the Tree of Woe. Blood pooled around him, staining the floor with a stark contrast to the clean, corporate image he had projected for years. The laceration on his forehead, the result of a collision with the steering wheel or windshield, made it clear that no sanctuary in the wrestling world was beyond reach. This violation of privacy carried symbolic weight far beyond the physical injury. The act of hanging a champion upside down inverted the very emblem he had fought to uphold, turning the American nightmare into a grim parody. The event was labeled a massacre on WWE's official YouTube channel and in its digital reports, a hyperbolic term that underscored the severity of the beatdown. It was no longer a scripted encounter. It was an execution of narrative violence that resonated with every viewer. The legal backdrop of the attack added another layer of intrigue. General Manager Nick Aldis had suspended McIntyre indefinitely for attacking referee Dan Engler during a frustrating loss to Rhodes and Aleister Black. Yet, Paul Heyman, ever the master of loopholes, exploited a contractual wrinkle regarding the War Games match. The rules allowed team captains to recruit any talent from any brand, regardless of standing with a specific show's general manager. Thus, even though McIntyre was barred from SmackDown's television, he was still eligible for Survivor Series, making his appearance on November 21 a technical trespass that Aldis acknowledged but could not prevent. The scene of a persona non grata on a restricted platform amplified the sense of rebellion that defined the War Games atmosphere. Medical reports following the attack transformed the narrative from a wrestling storyline to a medical drama that would cast doubt over Rhodes' ability to compete. He was rushed to a local medical facility where imaging revealed an axial compression of the cervical spine, as well as a cervical strain with spasm. The diagnosis implied that McIntyre's assault had involved either a piledriver or a dropped head impact within the cramped confines of the bus. While no fracture had been detected, the cervical strain and spasms meant severe whiplash and limited neck rotation, an Achilles heel that would affect any high-impact move. In the context of a War Games match, where Brock Lesnar's suplexes and Bronson Reed's tsunami splash are staples, Rhodes' neck vulnerability added a lethal dimension to every suplex and strike from his opponents. The storyline would have to weave this physical weakness into the narrative, allowing Rhodes to fight from beneath, reinforcing his babyface resilience while protecting him if performance faltered. Against this backdrop of looming danger, the November 21 episode of SmackDown served as the platform for the Last Time Is Now tournament, a historic contest that would determine the final opponent for John Cena's legendary career. The stakes were amplified by Cena's status as Intercontinental Champion, adding a title defense angle to the tournament. The tournament structure showcased a diverse field, each match designed to test the boundaries of storytelling and athleticism. The marquee match of the night was between Carmelo Hayes and Bronson Reed. Reed's towering presence and power dominance, amplified by the ringside support of Logan Paul and Braun Breaker, set the stage for a classic David versus Goliath scenario. Just as Reed was poised to finish Hayes, chaos erupted. The Usos subdued Paul and Breaker, while a bandaged and bloodied Cody Rhodes, despite his cervical injury, stormed out of the back of the bus. In a moment of uncharacteristic heroism, Rhodes delivered a crossroads to Reed, allowing Hayes to secure a countout victory. The interference was a crucial narrative pivot. It demonstrated that the assault had failed to break Rhodes' spirit, and it forged a bond between Rhodes and the rising star Hayes, a passing of the torch that would echo throughout the company. Simultaneously, the tournament showcased surprising upsets that signaled a shift in the competitive balance. Penta's pinfall over Finn Balor, a clean victory that shocked many, highlighted the unpredictable nature of the event. Other matches added depth. LA Knight's pinfall victory over Zack Ryder, a surprise opponent who had returned as the Zack Ryder persona, and Jey Uso's victory over Rusev, a match filmed for the November 28 episode. These outcomes reinforced the tournament's role as a catalyst for fresh storylines, creating ripples that would influence feuds and alliances well beyond the immediate event. The attack on Rhodes, the medical aftermath, and the tournament's unexpected turns together carved a new path for WWE's creative direction. The narrative shifted from the glint of championship glory to the stark reality of physical limits and unanticipated heroism. Rhodes' retirement, therefore, was not a mere exit, but a powerful statement that resonated through every storyline, every match, and every fan's imagination. It underscored the fragile balance between the art of wrestling and the harsh realities that sometimes intrude upon it. And it set the stage for a future where resilience, courage, and the unexpected became the new standards of the squared circle. The news hit the ring like a thunderclap, a silence settling over the live audience that felt more like a collective breath held in waiting. Cody Rhodes' eyes, still fierce in the backstage corridor, reflected the weight of the moment. The diagnosis came in clear, clinical terms: axial compression. Doctors had confirmed the damage to his cervical vertebrae, the same strain that had cost him the fight in the bus attack, and now, unmistakably, a future beyond the squared circle. The announcement, "I am retiring from wrestling," was simple, yet its echo reverberated across every storyline and every fan's heart. With Cody stepping away, the ripple effect was immediate. Team Vision, poised to dominate the upcoming War Games match, found its core shaken. Reigns, Punk, and McIntyre, already embroiled in a bitter war of words and blood, now faced the harsh reality: the man whose neck was already a ticking time bomb could no longer be the centerpiece of their survival strategy. The narrative that had been building, the promise of a heroic comeback from the brink of collapse, dissolved into a quiet, raw truth. Sometimes the hero's story ends before the final bell. The loss also reshaped the women's division, adding an unexpected layer to the War Games card. AJ Lee, the pioneer of the Divas Revolution, had re-entered the ring as the fifth member of the babyface team, a return that carried more than nostalgia. It was a bridge between eras. The lineup, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, and now AJ, felt like a dream team, yet tension simmered beneath the surface. Ripley and Flair, longtime rivals, eyed each other warily. Bliss, ever unpredictable, kept the atmosphere charged. In the backstage segment, Bliss attempted to mediate, but Ripley's power and Flair's cunning clashed, creating a palpable fracture. AJ, fresh from retirement and carrying the legacy of the past decade, became the wild card. Would she calm the storm or add another spark to the flame? Her mere presence intensified the stakes, turning the War Games battle into a clash of histories as much as of personalities. The United States Championship, meanwhile, continued its own story of resilience. Ilja Dragunov, the Mad Dragon, defended his title against J.D. McDonough in a match that lived up to its name. The crowd roared as Dragunov executed a thunderous powerbomb, followed by the iconic H-bomb elbow drop, securing a hard-fought victory. His dominance illustrated the belt's identity as a workhorse, separate from the chaotic theatrics that defined many main events. Meanwhile, the tag team scene delivered its own twist. DIY, the duo of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, faced Fraxium, and the match ended controversially when Candice LeRae, Gargano's wife, intervened, unmasking Axiom. The finish hinted at a darker turn for DIY, setting the stage for future drama that could culminate in a mask versus title showdown. Production choices for the night also reflected WWE's evolving narrative tone. The use of body cam footage during the Raw brawl and the shaky cam style of the McIntyre bus attack gave the show a cinematic, unscripted feel. By breaking the polished veneer, the show leaned into a reality era, letting the violence feel consequential and the injuries feel real. The commentary team reinforced this by repeatedly referencing axial compression, anchoring the storyline in medical reality. The combination of raw visuals and factual dialogue helped the audience accept the tragedy as a part of the show's fabric. Historical echoes ran through the entire episode. McIntyre's assault on the bus echoed the classic vehicle destruction trope, reminiscent of Stone Cold's attacks on the DX Express or the NWO's ambulance scenes. Yet McIntyre inverted the classic hero role. He was not an anti-hero, but a sinister antagonist, a modern Stone Cold whose villainy was colder and more calculated. Cody Rhodes, on the other hand, embodied the classic Sting archetype, a valiant hero constantly outnumbered and betrayed, yet refusing to stay down. His final match, with a bandaged neck and an impromptu crossroads on Reed, showcased the stubborn resilience that had defined his career. That moment, though brief, was a testament to his character, a hero who, even in his final moments, delivered a show that honored the sport's unforgiving nature. Looking forward, Survivor Series promised to be a battleground of the old and the new. The men's War Games card had Team Vision facing Team Rhodes, but with Cody's retirement, the balance tipped. Team Vision's advantage was clear. They had Reigns, Punk, and McIntyre, all of whom could still fight with ferocity. Yet the absence of a central hero in Team Rhodes left their narrative vulnerable. The women's War Games had AJ's team against the heel side, a contest of histories with the added drama of AJ's return. The IC title match, John Cena defending against Dominic, was set to be the show's emotional core. Cena, still fighting in the retirement year, defended the IC title with the weight of his farewell tour. The crowd could feel the significance of each handshake, each strike. Dominic, playing the cowardly heel in his hometown, would rely on Judgment Day interference, yet Cena's legacy would likely see him retain the title, closing the chapter on a career that spanned decades. The night ended not with cheers alone, but with a flood of tears, claps, and whispered thank you statements. Fans on the sidelines, on their phones, and in the locker rooms poured out their gratitude. They remembered the moments when Cody, with a cracked jaw and a determined stare, had delivered a crossroads to a towering opponent. They remembered the raw, unscripted body cam footage that made them feel the real cost of each slam. They felt the weight of Cody's decision, and they respected it. Cody Rhodes' retirement was more than a character exit. It was a narrative pivot. It forced the company to confront the limits of storytelling, to respect the physical toll on its performers, and to honor a legacy that had been built on grit, resilience, and an unwavering love for the craft. The universe watched, a silent acknowledgement that the best part of Cody's story was not how many championships he won, but how he chose to end his journey with dignity, honesty, and an unbroken spirit that would inspire future generations. The night hung heavy with the weight of silence, broken only by the low hum of the crowd's collective heartbeat. Cody Rhodes had just stepped into the ring, the lights blazing over him as he delivered a quiet but unmistakable message. The time had come to lay down the gauntlet and let the world breathe again. When the final words of his farewell slipped through the microphone, "I've given everything. It's time to survive it." The arena felt as though it had just exhaled. His announcement reverberated beyond the steel ropes. Behind the scenes, the locker room buzzed with a mixture of awe and relief. Longtime allies and newer stars alike found themselves staring at a mirror, reflecting on the price of every match, every slam, every tear that had come down their own faces. No one could help but wonder, what would the wrestling world look like without the fire that Cody had poured into every bout? Yet, even as the future appeared uncertain, a quiet resolve settled among those who had known him. They understood that the sport had always been a cycle of pain and triumph, and that survival depended on learning from every chapter.